This is the official podcast for the Jones Graduate School of Business at Rice University. Joining us this week, Dr. Alex Butler, Associate Professor of Finance.
Hi, my name is Alex Butler. I teach finance. I teach the core finance course to undergrads. I teach the core finance course to our executive MBA students. I teach a financial markets elective to our full-time MBAs. I teach corporate finance in our PhD program.
So Alex, where did you go to school and how long have you been at the Jones School?
I did my undergraduate work at Rice University and graduated in 1992 with a degree in mathematical economic analysis. From there I went on to get my PhD in finance at Indiana University, and I've been here at the Jones School. This is finishing my second year now.
What issues in finance are you most attracted to, and what's the focus of your research?
So I'm most interested in external financing decisions of firms and governments. In the core finance class, we teach students that find positive net present value investments, and then the money to fund those projects magically finds its way to finance those projects. But in the real world, there are frictions that keep that from happening. And so my research is about the frictions that keep the suppliers of capital and the demand for capital separate.
You received your undergraduate at Rice, and now you're teaching at the university. What brings you back, and was that part of your evil plan?
It was part of my evil plan. I basically circumnavigated the globe to make my way back here. My first job coming out of graduate school was at LSU. And then from there I came back to Rice as a visiting faculty member for a year. And that's where I laid the seeds for my evil plan. And then I went to South Florida, where the hurricanes of 2004 drove me out, and back to Texas, to University of Texas at Dallas. And University of Texas at Dallas is where my wife and family and I were going to live out our days until Rice came calling to see if I wanted to come back, and here I am.
The introduction of the undergraduate business minor is something relatively new at Rice University and the Jones School, and yet it's proven extremely popular. What do you attribute to the popularity of the business minor?
I think the popularity of the program is largely due to the fact that students at Rice want to get some real-world exposure and experience and some practical training before they step out into the real world at graduation. As far as the enrollments, I think that we staff these courses with our best lecturers and our best instructors, and students really enjoy that. We're currently running 2 sections of the minor per year, so I guess about 100 students are graduating per year at this point.
What qualities would you say are common between the undergraduate business minor at Rice and the PhD candidate?
Well, both the undergraduates and the PhD candidates are just massive overachievers. The undergrads in a variety of fields, obviously, because they're taking just a business minor. The PhD students are generally more focused in terms of their studies, in terms of economics or math or other fields like that, but both groups are just phenomenal world beaters and have really exceeded my very high expectations.
How would you characterize the typical student at the Jones School?
So I think the Jones School students are driven to succeed. They're very, very bright, and they are very resourceful in terms of figuring out ways to get the most out of their education. So I try to have the students doing hands-on work, and that's at every level, from undergraduate up to PhD. I think that the best way to learn is to do, and so that might be doing a case study, it might be working in small groups to solve problems, it might be writing a research paper for the PhD students. So I think that really learning by doing is what works best for me in the classroom.
What makes Rice University different than other universities where you've been a professor?
I think that Rice has a strong emphasis on overall quality, teaching and research, and expects faculty to contribute substantially in terms of service. And that creates a sort of well-rounded professor, I think, that oftentimes other schools don't really have, because professors tend to specialize more. One's a research professor and one's a teaching professor, and one takes up all the service. And you don't really get the big picture of what's going on in the department or the school or the university if you're focused on just one aspect, I think. I think that having well-rounded professors does tend to generate well-rounded students, because the students are always getting professors who are familiar with all the aspects of the Jones School, not just the teaching, but also the research, not just the research, but also the teaching, and also understanding sort of how all that fits together through their service contributions as well.
How would you distill the nature of finance as a topic of study? What attracts you to it?
So finance is the study of how financial assets are priced and how the supply of capital meets the demand for capital. And so what attracts me mostly is thinking about the frictions that keep the supply of capital, individual investors and what they do with their money, from the demand for capital, the firms and the corporations and the governments who want money to fund projects and investments on their balance sheets. And so understanding sort of what keeps those two apart and what brings those two together is what interests me the most.
What's your favorite part of campus, and what's your favorite campus memory?
I think my favorite part of campus is the main academic quad. It has a good blend of sort of old and new. Lovett Hall and the physics building were the original buildings on campus. And yet the newer buildings, like Sewell Hall right across from the physics building, to the eye looks almost identical. And Rice made it that way on purpose in order to maintain the sort of integrity of the architecture on campus. And so the academic quad just reflects that sort of old and new together at the same time, and that's, I think, what I enjoy the most.
And finally, what do you enjoy doing in your free time when you're not researching finance?
When I'm not researching finance, I enjoy spending time with my family. I'm trying to convince the family that we're an outdoorsy family, and so we like to go kayaking as a family, and I'm trying to convince everyone they like to go fishing as a family. So I have two little girls, and so far they're not too comfortable with putting worms on the hooks yet, but we're working on that.
Sounds adventurous. Dr. Alex Butler, thank you for visiting. This has been the official podcast for the Jones Graduate School of Business at Rice University.